So this Pfaff sewing machine was running really slow, very slowly. So what I've done here is, the first thing was I took the pattern selector assembly out. I took the entire hook assembly out. I took the gears out, took the hook out, took the gears behind the hook out, slid the whole piece off. This entire thing was out, and I disassembled it, cleaned all the bushings, everything was solvent down to the metal, relubricated everything. The lower shaft I slid over, cleaned the bushings so that everything is moving perfectly. There's no gunk, no old oil or anything. Reassembled everything, set the hook timing, the feed timing, actually the hook timing and the hook needle gap and everything. Then I took the shaft for the feed, and I did the same thing with this. I took it apart. I cleaned all the links for the feeding, the reversing. All the links have been cleaned with solvent, relubricated, and the feed timing settings are all reset. I repaired the motor. The motor has a buffer in there. It's a little rubber buffer that keeps it from clanking together. I've repaired that. I took this whole thing apart. I cleaned the motor bushings. They run beautifully. There's no hang up at all. I disassembled the entire bobbinwinder clutch, cleaned everything with solvent, and re-lubricated it with fresh Sil Glide grease. The upper shaft, I took the pattern selector out and cleaned all that, of course, and lubricated everything. Everything's moving easily and beautifully. The upper shaft, I disconnected the balance and slid the shaft over, cleaned the bushings on either end and the shaft until it's sliding back together really beautifully. Relubricated it, put everything back. Also the linkage for the stitch width and the stitch length, all those things, everything has been cleaned and relubricated. The take-up lever and the needle bar assembly, I cleaned that all with solvent and put it in the entire machine pretty much with solvents, tetrachloroethylene solvent, and penetrating oil for about a week. I've been working on this on and off for about a week. And so at this point, the factory setting is for this to run at 950 stitches a minute. And at present moment, it is running at 950 stitches per minute. So it's really cooking. It's working beautifully. So the next test is for me to let this machine sit in my cold basement or a cold workshop here for about 4 or 5 days. I'm just gonna let it sit and not touch it. And then I'm gonna turn it on, run it at full speed, and see if it maintains that 950 stitches per minute speed. If it doesn't, wow, there's just real no hope for it. I mean, I don't know what else could possibly do to fix it that I haven't already done. If that's the case, the only thing to do with this point is when the person's going to use it, to take the bobbin case out and unthread it. This was with all the covers and everything on it, of course, and just turn it on and run it for about 30 seconds, and it should always run up to speed. But when it sits for long periods of time, like a couple of years, that's the worst thing for a sewing machine. And my guess is that may have been what exacerbated the problem with it. But anyway, the efforts that I've put in are extensive. I spent a ridiculous amount of time on this machine, but I want it to go out of here as good as possible. And I feel really good about all the work that I've done on it. I've worked on literally many hundreds of these machines, and I know them inside out and backward. And it's about the best that I can do. So we'll see what happens.